are live at Condo Conference 2025. It's your buddy Mike. Thanks for joining me. And we are going to be speaking to many experts, as we do every single time that we come to this show. So please subscribe, tell a friend about it. The REMI network always has great content that you can learn from, interesting products that you can find out about, and the experts who really have the future-looking insight into what's going to be happening tomorrow in the real estate management industry. All right, well look, without further ado, today's guest is no exception to the expert rule that we have here, and Satya is joining us from EXP Services. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mike. Thank you for having me here.
My delight. Now listen, you and I spoke for a few minutes just before we sat down to do this, and it was interesting. You gave me your background first, and I thought that was interesting. Share that with us if you don't mind, because I think it lends itself to this discussion.
Sure. So I'm Satya Ramachandran. I'm the Director of Building Science for Greater Toronto Hamilton area. I have an architectural background, and I practiced architecture for a couple of years before I did my master's in building science. Since then, it's been 20 years, and I've been doing building science as consulting in building science. And I've worked in Vancouver, lived and worked in Vancouver, Seattle, Calgary, and now the last 4 or 5 years, I've been in Greater Toronto area. So that's who I am.
Where are you from originally?
From India.
So you moved from India to the US or to Canada first?
No, to Canada. I did my master's at Concordia in Montreal, yeah.
Shout out Concordia, my stepson goes there. So now this architecture background and building sciences really does put you, and I wanted to position it this way, it puts you in the lead as a thinker in this space when you're talking about the envelope, the building envelope, which is probably the most essential science in the building process, especially with today's requirements.
Absolutely, absolutely. I think you got that right, and I keep this very close to my heart. And it has always been exciting in the field of building science. If you look at building envelope, there are three main goals of building envelope: durability, energy efficiency, and indoor air quality. I mean, durability is our predominant goal, where we want to building envelope that separates the inside to the outside in a more durable way, so that we don't have premature systemic failures. But more and more, because of the climate change, because of the climate mitigation requirements, and now climate adaptation, I mean, we know we're not turning back the climate change that has happened.
Right.
So we have to adapt to whatever climate change is happening.
It's amazing to hear somebody say that.
Yeah.
Let's adapt. Okay, we can fight climate change all we want, but we're in it.
Yep.
What are we going to do for residences, for buildings, for commercial in the future that adapts?
Right. So there are some new standards that are being developed. First, what they're trying to do is to understand how the climate change pattern, and by which we're trying to anticipate what the elements are going to do to us.
What the new challenges?
How the wind conditions are going to change, how much rain that we're going to get in more. What's the heat condition? Is it going to overheat the buildings?
Drastic
and such?
change in
Drastic
temperature.
changes, yeah. So right now, NRC is doing some research on identifying those changes and the challenges associated with it.
Right.
And there are committees and standards organizations that are working on several standards to educate the industry to adapt to the, and that way, consult in the industry to make sure that these buildings are built adapting to the upcoming climate change.
So this is an ongoing education for you, obviously. Things are changing so much.
Yeah.
What are the three major changes, or a couple of changes that you're noticing that will impact what you do for a living and impact what you guys offer your clients?
Yeah, so three things, yes. So number one, the energy conservation measures, right? So building envelope is ahead in order to, is at the forefront to reduce the amount of energy that you're using. So by reducing the amount of energy you're using the amount of greenhouse gas emissions.
Okay.
Right? And there is also what we call as the embodied energy. As you're building buildings, now we're trying to find out those materials that are produced with limited amount of carbon, right?
So you're actually reducing in the production process.
In the production process itself, yes.
Those items that you're using are, okay, so what is most eco-friendly, I guess? What is going to have So this is quite a challenge because you have to get eco-friendly up against best quality, longest durability, most breathing.
Yeah.
That sounds challenging.
Absolutely, it is a big challenge, especially like, you know, when I look at decarbonization, this is a common term that's used as decarbonization. There's two things. One, operational carbon. The other one is the embodied carbon. So operational carbon is reducing the carbon in day-to-day operation of the building, which is achieved by, there's 4 strategies that we use typically. Number 1 is energy conservation, which I spoke about. Number 2 is like the fuel switch. So you change from a gas to electrical. Number 3 is renewable. Renewable, like you try to get as much renewable energy as possible, and so on and so forth. So these are the ways that we are achieving operational decarbonization. Whereas embodied decarbonization, as I explained, we're reducing the amount of carbon used by these products. So to bring these together, it's challenging. For instance, most of the construction materials you see, concrete, aluminum, glass, these are all high carbon materials, but those are the common materials that we are using, right? So now they're finding ways to reduce the amount of energy that they're using as they are producing these materials, and then we're also trying to use materials that are low carbon, like the mass timber, which is kind of getting really popular, right? Yeah. So in BC, for instance, like they are a bit ahead of like the Ontario market, but we're catching up and we're working on those projects also.
So in the process of what you do, where do you come into the building planning phase? At the architecture end of it, at the engineering end of it, where does that begin for you guys?
Yeah, so we consult, like our practice is twofold. One, new construction, and the other one is existing buildings. So in new construction project, we act as sub-consultants, like as building science consultants, we act as sub-consultants providing the necessary support for the architects to bring their vision into reality. That is our job. Me being an architect, I'm able to appreciate that component of it, that how important it is to maintain the aesthetics of the building and their overall objective. So we try to bring that, that's how we do it. So we start with the design phase. So at the design phase, we do a review of the architectural design and then make sure that the design intent and the design development is all done according to the overall objective of the building, right?
How it looks. Yeah. What the economy of it is, what the selling price. Yeah. It is so multifaceted when you hear about what goes into either the refurbishing or the new building end of it, because so many considerations have to be made at that point. Let me ask you, if people wanted to reach out and just find out a little bit more about what your services are and how you can extend their understanding of what the options are, because you don't want to end up with a brutalist design just because you are trying to accommodate carbon reduction, trying to keep things durable and long lasting, which is better for the environment overall, better for the cost overall. Where can people reach out and have a chat with you about this? Well,
we have a nice website called exp.com. People can reach at exp.com, and they can also send an email to one@exp.com. So that's our common email. But if anybody wants to reach out to me, with the focused on the building science specialization, they can reach me out at 416-300-9621. or satya.ramachandran@exp.com.
And we'll make sure that we include that in the description with the video today. I wish you guys an incredible show. I can't wait to see what you do next with technology and the thought process that you put into it. It's nice to hear somebody in the science realm trying to keep it beautiful and trying to keep it eco-friendly at the same time.
Yeah, absolutely, and thank you for having me here. It's always a pleasure to share the knowledge and educate our audience, yes.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.
We'll see you here next time.